bitches.
Hi, hello. Don't mind me, just drinking my tea.
It's a folklore episode. Or a mythology, I guess. We switched it, didn't we? I don't remember.
Oops. Oh
It's a
well.
mythology episode.
I think it's a little based on. Okay, so I know folklore and mythology are not the same thing. They're separate. Like folklore is reason. Like it's like Paul Bunyan for the Great Lakes in
Yeah, like
America.
not widely
Like
believed to be true.
yeah, it's like tall tales in a way. So like Paul Bunyan, quick fact, were giants that lived in the North American area, and the daughter of Paul Bunyan sat in like a lake of some sort or a crater and like took a bath, or I don't know. It's been since like first grade since I've heard this, so like take it with a grain of salt. Um, but she sat in like the area where the Great Lakes are, and with like as she was taking a bath or something like that, created the Great Lakes because she was so big. And he also had like a blue ox. And I don't know, we always had like a Paul Bunyan day in grade school, and I have no idea why. I just went with it. I was
It
like,
was a
cool, Paul
thing.
Bunyan day. We're gonna have this. I don't know. Like I think we had he was like a big lumberjack, so I think we had like pancakes or something. But
Probably. Oh my gosh.
that's a fairy tale, that's like folklore. Now myth is mainly it's loosely based around like religious reasons. So like God is mythology, Zeus are mythology based tales. So I mean it could be kind of folklore because what we're talking about is some people nowadays will claim they see a whirlpool in this strait over in the Greek Isles, and they believe it could be this person. So I mean, like, it could be either or. I'm gonna
Yeah.
just say it that. But anyways,
Yes. But so, we're doing. Cor- oh
can
my
you
gosh.
even say it?
No! Scylla and Charybdis. I about combined them and said Corilla. That's
Corella
their that's
Deville,
their
Corella Deville.
celebrity couple name. Corilla.
I don't I like I know they're not sisters, but I don't know why I thought they were. Probably because they like have similar duties in the same area.
Yeah, and they like kind of work together, but they're not sisters. Technically they're an aunt and niece. Well, depending on which story you follow.
Yeah. For so I was looking up like a family tree because Greek family trees are
Fucked.
so messed up. Like you have lines going anywhere and everywhere. It does not matter what you are to each other. Like they're everywhere. And some of them,
Especially when it like the gods and goddesses and like
yeah. So some of them show that Charybdis was the daughter of the primordial goddess Gaia, which was like Earth. They also believe that she mated with a grouper, a Goliath grouper, so like a gigantic fish, which created different kids, and Charybdis was one of them. Now, out of two of these kids, they mated and had kids themselves, which Skrilla was a part of. So, in a long, weird scheme of things, Charybdis is the aunt of Skrilla in this
Scylla.
particular skit. What did I say? Skrilla?
Yeah. Skrilla.
Skip. Bring the beat back. um,
Oh
so
my
in
gosh.
this form, it's that's that family dynamic going on. But I mean,
But I have
other
like six different five different um origin stories for Scylla to talk about. So it depends on which one you want to go with or believe. Oh. But Scylla and Charybdis, are two monsters, basically, that kind of work together um, on a narrow strait of water, which even where the strait of water was is like debated. Like some are like it was in South America. Some say that it was like the strait, the Messina
Messina, I think it is.
strait in Italy.
Messina.
Um, but wherever it was, one of them is on one side and one of them's on the other side, and one of them will take your whole ship down, and the other one will just take six of your um, sailors
Men.
or people.
Yeah, because it
Um,
had 6 heads, right?
yes. Well, in some stories, it depends.
True.
Um, so Scylla has the six heads, and she'll take six of your men. And a lot of it kind of there's a saying that kind of equates to between a rock and a hard place is between Scylla and Charybdis because
That's
you
fucking true.
right? Like you have to make a choice. It kind of reminds me of the like train conundrum, like or the psychological test thing that, like, would you let a baby die to save a train full of people, or would you divert the train and save the baby and kill all the people on the train? Like,
There's like
it's
a TikTok trend going around doing that,
yeah,
which I kind of enjoy because it's like, damn, it makes you feel, and like, it's loosely. I don't know if it's based after anything, but it's loosely implying that like the villain has a heart because it's like, all right, hero, pick your love or the city, and then the hero always picks the city because
yeah.
Gryffindor energy, and the villain's like my heart, and then it starts playing a Moulin Rouge song, like why does my like Roxanne, like the Moulin Rouge
Yeah.
version of Roxanne, and I'm just like true love, and then it brings back the villain will destroy everything to make sure that one person is safe, whereas the hero's just like fuck you all, like my people.
Yeah. No,
That's
fuck
why I
that
like
Gryffindor
villains.
energy.
Fuck yeah, that's why I like this. That's why I like the Slytherin villain esque life
Yeah.
because it's like I'm important.
Right? Oh my gosh.
Oh,
But
that
that's
brings
kind
me
of the
back to like
same.
Akatar. Anyways,
Oh my
continue.
gosh. I just no, so that just took me down a different path, but I have to say it now because I saw it. We're both in this group on Facebook. Um, that's a bunch of like book people. And somebody the other day was like, "It took me forever to get into the ACOTAR series because it's not usually my typical genre, blah blah blah. But after reading the first book, I am hooked and I just loved it. The first book was so good." And I'm just like, "Was it?" The book was okay. It was well written, but like no.
There's
Just
better
wait.
books. Like
Yeah.
I felt that way too when I was reading it. I was like, man, this is the best book I've ever read. Like this is better than a lot of other books. And then I read the like next few in the series. There's a little cat. There's like I read the next few in the series. I was like, no, that book was shit compared to these. But I
Yeah.
also grew to hate the main love interest at the
In the
time.
first book.
So
Yeah. I
and
hated
then
him the whole time. So, and
yeah,
I
I
don't
was
like
like,
I didn't like Feyre in the first book either. So,
that's true. Yeah, it's
but
debatable if we still like her throughout the
yeah,
rest of the
sometimes I
series.
do, sometimes I don't. She's still got that Gryffindor energy. But anyway, back to Scylla. Scylla definitely
Breezy and
doesn't have that
Norway.
Gryffindor energy.
No, Charybdis, Charybdis has that chaotic energy, whatever you want to
Right?
call it. Whoever is the most chaotic at the time. That's why I picked her.
So, so the next section, I like separate my note into sections because I'm neurotic. But the next section I have is about her description. So it depends on which mythology or which story you're reading. In the Odyssey, she's described as having a crab-like shell with she has 12 feet, six necks spring up from her protected body, and she has six heads with three rows of teeth in each head. So each of the heads is like on a snake like they're like snake like heads. and
Mhm.
they'll reach out and grab the sailor off the ship. Um, some other stories say that instead of feet, she had 12 tentacles, that she had dog heads protruding, 6 dog heads protruding out of her waist.
Dog heads?
Dog heads. And she still had the triple row of teeth, but she also had a cat tail. There are some stories that she has 6 arms and looks like a sea nymph, but huge. Um, so there's a few different stories, but the most well known one and the one that makes the most sense based on her story is that she has 6 snake-like heads that come up from her body, and she has the crab-like shell and is kind of terrifying.
Hmm.
Um, then we get into her origins, which it's a hot mess. Like, there are multiple different people that could have been her mother or father. Um, this first one is that her mother was Crataeus and her father was either Triton or Phorcys. Triton being the Greek god of the sea, son of Poseidon, and Phorcys was a primordial god of the sea. Um, that's one version. Another version, and this is the one that I vibe with the most, which I think you'll understand why once I say, is that the parents were Hecate and Phorcys. This says Hecate was also a primordial goddess, but that's also conflicting reports because I've read other things about Hecate, so um, to take that as you will. But this was from the um, GreekGodsandGoddesses.net, this particular piece of information. Um,
Looks like I'm drinking
and
blood.
huh, it does. It does look like you're drinking blood.
God, it's so sweet. All right, continue.
um, and then in some later tellings of the story of Scylla and Charybdis, people say that Crataeus was just another name for Hecate. That is not, I don't think that's true,
Yeah, I
based
don't
on
agree
what
with
I've
that.
read. Um,
I don't
because
agree with that at all.
in many, many sources, Crataeus is another name for Keto, who is the goddess of dangers of the sea. There's another origin story for Scylla that her mother is Keto, also known as Crataeus, um, who mated with her brother Phorcys, and they had Scylla, Echidna, and the Graea, which is the Fates. Um,
That's the family tree I was looking at.
yes, yes. And they also had the Gorgons, Stheno, Euryale, and Medusa. That one makes the most sense to me, and that's the one that I've heard the most. The romantic in me wants it to be Hecate, but I don't think it is. And then there are some other origin stories of Scylla that she was not any of those things. None of those people were her parents. She was just a regular water nymph. And I think it's Glaucus, who's a minor sea god, loved Scylla so much as a nymph that he wanted to use magic to capture her attention and to get her to fall in love with him. So he went to Circe to get the magic, and she was so pissed because she was in love with Glaucus that she like got super jealous, and instead of making Scylla fall in love with Glaucus, she put a potion in the waters where Scylla lived, which turned her into the like beast that she is now. Um, and then there's another very similar story to that one, that she was a nymph, and was claimed by Poseidon, which made the other water spirits mad at her, and they poisoned the water, making her transform. So there's lots of different origin stories. The one that makes the most sense to me, based on other mythology that I know, is the one that Keto and Phorcys were her parents with all those siblings, which would make her Charybdis's niece.
That's true. That's true.
Um, very popular story with Scylla and Charybdis is the Odyssey. Odysseus and his crew go through the strait on their way back to Ithaca because they're trying to get back quicker. And they stop at Circe's island. Circe's like, "Yo, don't go that way, but if you do, go closer to Scylla because if you go to Charybdis, she's gonna sink your whole fucking ship." Um, which they do, and they are while they're distracted by Charybdis because they're like sailing around her and like looking at her, um, Scylla like reaches out and eats 6 of Odysseus's men. That's the most famous story, I think, with Scylla and Charybdis. Um, and then we come to Scylla's end. She did die. She didn't live forever. She's not still there. Charybdis, I think, is rumored to still be there, like
Yeah,
in mythology. But Scylla did die. Heracles encountered Scylla as he headed to Sicily, which is why people say that the Messina Strait is where Scylla and Charybdis are. And Heracles was a demigod. And he killed her because she stole oxen, apparently. Um, but fear not, her father Phorcys just couldn't deal with his daughter's death. So he burnt her body with torches and that brought her back to life. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So don't get
I didn't
cremated
realize
unless
that.
you want to come back to life. Scylla's a fucking zombie.
So Scylla, hold on. So you said Scylla stole oxen from.
Heracles. Well, it doesn't say that she stole them from Heracles. It just says that she stole them.
That's weird because it says in some myth Charybdis was a voracious woman who stole oxen from. It's basically Hercules in Roman mythology, but it's
Yeah.
Heracles or Heracles or whatever. And was hurled by the thunderbolt of Zeus into the sea, where she retained her voracious nature. That's why
Yeah.
she's so chaotic.
That's cool.
That's weird. Okay,
That is
cool.
weird. So that is
Um,
Scylla.
so Charybdis is similar, very similar. Looks different, but similar. But on the opposite side of it. So she is believed to live under a small rock on one side of a narrow channel. Um, so I don't, this might be a repeat, but Scylla lived on inside a much larger rock, which actually kind of makes sense why she has like the crab body because like if she's living in the rock, she is essentially probably is the rock.
Yeah.
Um, but the sides of the strait were within arrow shot of each other, so it's really really short and small. Um, and sailors attempting to avoid one of them would have to come in reach of the other. So like you had to choose, like Brandy said,
Yes.
lesser of two evils to be between Scylla and Charybdis. Um, so there was always a task to avoid both. However, that never happened. So it's believed that 3 times a day, Charybdis swallowed a huge amount of water before belching it back out again, which created a large whirlpool capable of dragging ships underwater. In some variations of the story, though, Charybdis was simply a large whirlpool instead of a large monster. Um, but very rare do you see that happening. Um, so Greek historians, Greek mythical chroniclers, that, um, they generally agree that Charybdis was said to have been located in the Strait of Messina off the coast of Sicily and opposite a rock on the mainland identified with Scylla. a whirlpool does in fact exist here. It's caused by currents meeting, but it is only dangerous to small craft in extreme conditions, not into large ships. So if you're like a rowboat kind of thing in like extreme conditions, like yeah, that's pretty dangerous. Um, but yeah, there is in fact a whirlpool that is believed to be there, which brings back the folklore idea of this is
Yeah.
why kind of thing. Um, so in terms of
I
family
mean,
tree,
really, both mythology and folklore, I feel like, are just humans trying to make the natural world make sense. They're really both the same thing. Like, they come up with the gods to make thunderstorms make sense. And like, really, both of them are us trying to make the world make sense.
I mean, as a kid, I always asked like, why is why is that, like, what is thunder, like why is that happening?
Right.
And instead of being told like it's a scientific process that causes nitrogen and blah 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 to collide or whatever,
Right.
I was told the Jesus and God and everybody up in heaven are playing bowling.
Oh my
I shit
God.
you not, that's what I was told. So every time that a thunder hit, I'd be like, oh, someone got a strike. So if I ever say that, that's because of like that's my childhood memory of being told about like thunder and lightning.
That's so
And
funny.
I would always joke and be like, well, and because I watched Hercules, it was a Disney movie. Of course I watched it. I would
Right.
be like, oh, is Zeus fighting for it? Is that why it's lightning? And my mom would be like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like,
I
but
was
like my
always told
grandma,
Zeus is angry.
yeah, like I would always say that, like, oh, someone's angry up top, like whatever. And my
Right.
grandma would be like, oh no, it's just God bowling or something stupid like that to tell like a first grader.
Right.
And that always brings side note. So like Will is very adamant about not lying to like our kids. So like when we start having kids, he's very adamant about like kind of telling the truth about everything. So like Santa Claus, presents, like Tooth Fairy, like things like that. He wants to have more of like a some people believe in this, some people say this, but really like this is whatever. And before I like full on was like, no, I like feel like I'm a pagan, like I should celebrate like that. I had the idea of like for in terms of Christmas being like, well, Santa Claus is real, but it's in all of us, like I'm passing the Santa Claus thing to you so that you can start giving gifts out and like showing love or whatever as Santa Claus kind of thing. Like some
Yeah.
cutesy way of describing that. And I was like, it's not technically lying because I mean, I'm telling the truth and it is in the spirit of Santa. Like
Yeah.
before I changed it over to everything, but he's very adamant about not lying to any kids. So like our kids are going to be the most blunt, excuse me, children out there.
I
God,
mean,
I didn't
honestly
realize this
though, like,
tea.
you don't have to tell them like it's especially in today's society with like the wealth differences between families and stuff. Like, some kids get, a quarter from the tooth fairy, and some kids get like $10. And like, it's
Yeah,
better to be like, you know, the tooth fairy is just a fairy tale. It's not real, but it's a tradition that we do. So like, mommy and daddy are
yeah.
actually the tooth fairy,
Yeah, some
but
people actually too also try to instill in their kids that like Santa brings you socks and Santa brings you
things that you need.
clothes. Yeah, and mommy and daddy buy you the expensive gifts. And it's like
Yeah.
that would be great because I remember going to school telling everyone how excited I was that Santa brought me all of these expensive things. And the kids that I knew, I mean, I at the time I didn't understand, but like thinking
Right.
back on it, I'm like, man, they didn't afford like there was I had friends in grade school whose parents were divorced and like they were I wouldn't call them low income, but they were definitely like buy
Right.
what you need when you need it, kind of like
Yeah.
family
I mean,
lifestyle.
I got a freaking mini snowmobile one year for Christmas from Santa. And
Yeah.
like, I'm not saying anything like bad about my parents for that, because people didn't think as much about other people. then. Like times have changed a lot. We're a lot more conscious of other people's thoughts and feelings. Um, but like I got a freaking mini snowmobile one year, and I probably went to school and like bragged about it even though I didn't really like it. Um, and like I feel like I probably went to school and bragged about it, and some other little kid was like, "Well, shit, I got, a Rubik
I
cube."
was
Like,
good this year. Like, why didn't I get these
right?
cool gifts? Yeah. So, in the long scheme of things, I realized like what an asshole I was as a child, but also like
Yeah,
I didn't realize anything. So,
right.
um,
Unknowingly, like,
yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why like Will's so adamant about like not lying to our kids because like what if they go to school and they say something stupid like the gods are playing fucking bowling and that's why
bowling,
it's thundering and then the kids like make fun of them like
right?
so I get it. I understand and it's I don't know, it's just fucking weird. Well, and all right, another side note. Okay, so and I think Will like really like has instilled this idea in me because like it this really fucking pissed me off the other day at work. It was probably like a month ago. But I had a phone call where this lady was like, "Hi, I'm looking for a fish, like a betta fish that looks exactly like this." And I was like, "Okay, well I can find something similar, but I can't find that exact looking fish because of these reasons." And they're like, "Oh, well, can you find something that looks extremely close to that? Because I have a nephew with autism, and he's really attached to his fish, and this fish died. And if we tell him the fish died, he's going to lose his mind. His mom doesn't want him to um, scream for 18 hours." And I was like, "How old is this kid? Like, is he two?" And I said it more professionally, and then she was like, "Oh, he's like 11 or something." And I was like, "Okay." Side note, I just want to give you some professional advice because I do have a master's in this and I feel like I can say this. Don't do that. Like I agree with you like you're trying to like help ease this, but you need to teach him that this is going to happen.
Right, because
Like
what
you're
if
lucky
tomorrow his mom gets in a car accident and dies, and
and
now he has to cope with that?
I brought this up and I was like, if he has like a specific family member that is very close with him and that he's attached to, if what if one day, like let's say it's a grandfather, what if one day the grandpa dies and he has no idea what death is? He doesn't understand any of that. Like they think black and white. If you just tell it to them straight, like and help them understand in the way that they understand things, they're going to it's going to get a lot better for them.
Yeah,
Now, if I was like, create social stories, if he works with like a BCBA, tell them about a social story about like loss, like prepare
yeah,
him. And you can start off with small animals, small fish, talk about lifespans. Like it's a learning opportunity for this kid. And I was like, don't lie to him because the fact that they do think more black and white, when they grow up, they're gonna realize shit that they grew things is I didn't say that, but things that they grew up learning is wrong, and then they're gonna lose their fucking mind because that's out of
yeah,
their norm. They're not ready for it, and they just don't understand how to cope with it. I was like, you need to learn coping skills. You need to learn this. You need to like slow growth into this so that he fully understands. And I was like, I worked with a lot of kids with autism and I said something that I probably shouldn't have said to them. Like, I guess in a roundabout way, I lied to them. I explained one way when really it was the other way because I didn't know how to explain it to them appropriately. And I'm not their parent. I don't want to make that decision for them. And then all of a sudden, I had to work on getting that trust back with that child after
because
working
they
with them for
realized.
yeah, after working with them for 5 months, I lost all trust with them because they knew I lied to them. So then they just couldn't fathom anything that I said after that. And I had to work my way back up to it. And I was like, so don't do that.
Yeah, please just
If
don't do
you're
that.
yeah, I was like, if you and he I guess he's like nonverbal and I was like, okay, so he must be getting services. Ask about this. Talk to them about this. Like try to urge with mom to not do this. I was like, obviously do it this one time because like the kid's going to come home from work or school and like nothing is going to be the same.
Right.
But like from now on, like please work with him or you're going to completely and utterly destroy your child's like process
Frame
of
of
thinking
mind. Yeah.
later on in life when somebody family wise passes and he doesn't understand. And she goes, you know, I've always thought maybe this wasn't a good idea. And I was like, I don't really care what you think or what your like what your sister thinks, but
Right.
this is just not right for your
Right.
child. If
I'm
you
not going to
care
help you
about
with this.
this,
Thanks, bye.
yeah, I was like, if you care about this child, like you will not do this again. Like this
Yeah.
time, obviously you're gonna have to. You have no choice. But from now on, like starting today, work with this child on us.
I've
Oh my
always
god.
thought that kind of shit was cringy. Like, always.
Yeah. Like she's like, yeah, he's had the same fish for 4 years and he loves this thing and we just want something that's similar. So like blah blah blah. And I was like, you're fucking stupid is what you are. I was like,
Just
okay, well I'm
tell him
gonna
the
get out of
truth and then get him a
yeah.
new fish.
I was like, I'm gonna listen, I'm gonna go out of my realm as a PetSmart manager and I'm gonna tell you as a behavior therapist, you're fucking stupid. Anyways, oh,
Anyways, just
don't
feed
lie
him
to
to
your
Charybdis.
kids. Yeah, don't lie to your kids for God's sakes. Anyways, um, in terms of family for Charybdis, it is believed.
It was
Speaking of
just real
family,
abrupt.
so I swear to God, I have high blood pressure. Let me take a drink of my tea.
I haven't had a
Hibiscus
good
tea,
drink in a minute.
everyone. Hibiscus tea, everyone, lowers your blood pressure as well as helps with nausea because I am nauseous today. So, food for thought. Anyways, so family. It is believed in later myths um, that Charybdis is the daughter of Poseidon and Gaia, and she's living as a loyal servant to her father. So Charybdis is, I think, if I read correctly somewhere, and I'll change this if I need to, but she is possibly the goddess of. Oh, fuck. Goddess of something. I will figure that
Who
out
were we talking
later.
about?
Charybdis. Who else are we talking about?
I didn't know if you said someone else's name and I just missed it.
Oh, no. Charybdis. That sounds like I'm saying Charybdis, not Charybdis.
Charybdis.
Charybdis. Anyways, so uh, Charybdis aided. This is the origin of her mythology story. Charybdis aided her father Poseidon in his feud with her paternal uncle Zeus, and as such helped him engulf lands and islands in water. Zeus was angry over the island, or the land she stole from him, captured and chained her to the seabed. Charybdis was then cursed by the god and transformed into a hideous bladder of a monster with flippers for arms. Yeah, with flippers for arms and legs and an uncontrollable thirst for the sea, which is why she engulfed so much water at one time. As such, she drank the water from the sea thrice a day to quench it, with which created whirlpools. She lingered on a rock with Scylla facing her directly on another rock, making a strait. And that's in other myths, though. It's believed that she stole oxen from Heracles or Iraq. I don't know.
I'm
One
pretty
of the
sure it's
games I play,
Heracles.
yeah, in one of the games I play, it's Heracles, but then they pronounce Hera, Era. So I'm like, it's the same thing. But anyways, um, and was hurled by the thunderbolt of Zeus into the sea, where she was retained with her voracious nature. But anyways, um, so just think of like a big old bladder looking thing, like a little bag with flippers for arms and legs, and just wants to gobble up the water. Um, I'm thinking kind
Okay.
of like a I was gonna say like a ocean, not cucumber, but like a slug kind
Okay.
of thing with like a big like teeth, like circle, like a
Circular
lamprey,
mouth,
like a lamprey. You know what that is?
I think.
They're fucking
Google.
terrifying looking. That's what they are. They have freshwater and I think saltwater kind, and they're an invasive species in the Great Lakes.
Ew.
Yeah. So like they have rows and rows of teeth that like can suction onto things. Um, but that's what like kind of what I envisioned what she looked like. Um, but yeah. So anyways, she's also in a few art or like literature stories. So like the Odyssey. Odysseus obviously was faced with both Charybdis and Scylla while rowing through a narrow channel. Um, Obviously in the work it described how um what is it they described it as Odysseus needed to uh sacrifice six of his men for the good of everything rather than take down the entire ship. So that's kind of what he was forced to do so that he could survive. And I think it's really funny because it's called the Odyssey and it's about Odysseus, and it's like I think if I remember correctly, Odysseus is the only one that survived the
Yeah.
entire thing.
Yes.
It's like, oh, we're gonna go on an Odyssey. It's like, why is it named after you? I don't know. Um, but anyways, so she was also mentioned in Jason and the Argonauts. Um, Apparently, the Argonauts were able to avoid both dangers because Hera ordered the Nereid nymph Thetis, Achilles' mother, to guide them through the perilous passage without being harmed by either one.
Hmm.
Um, there was also another one, the Aenid. I don't know about the pronunciation of that. Um,
I think it's a need. It's like
Aenid,
AE in.
EID,
Yeah, I think it's a need,
Aenid.
but I'm not
Okay.
positive.
Um, So the Trojans were warned of Scylla and Charybdis and are advised to avoid them by sailing around Pacanus Point or Cape Passero rather than risk the strait. So instead of going straight through the strait, they just like went around. Aristotle also mentions in his Meteorologica that Aesop once teased a ferryman by telling him a myth concerning Charybdis. With one gulp of the sea, she brought the mountains to view. Islands appeared after the next, and the third is yet to come and will dry the sea altogether, thus depriving the ferryman of his livelihood. That's fucked up. Um, what is it? So again, she's seen as the a whirlpool. And they're actually the Greeks have a verb. I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I don't fucking know how to pronounce that. Um, which meant to swallow like Charybdis. So it was a verb invented to describe those who were gluttonous because she gulped
Oh.
so much sea. Um, and it's also believed that Charybdis was perhaps identical to Keto Trianos, the sea monster thrice, who was the mother of Scylla and grandmother of the Sicilian giant Polyphemus. That's cute. That's cute. That's cute. Um, so oh, that's weird. It started like describing Scylla, and I was like, wait, what? They said barking like a dog, and I was like, Charybdis? No,
Huh?
Scylla. Um, but yeah, so She's definitely a formidable foe when going through the strait. And she doesn't have a death story, so she might still be there. So be careful when you go through that strait because I don't know. I don't know. It's yeah, it's not there. Um, but yeah, it's just absolutely insane what she looks like. Ooh. Um, let's see. Oh, the etymology of the name Charybdis is actually unknown. They don't really know where it came from, just there.
Hmm.
Charybdis lived deep in the ocean beneath a fig tree growing from a small rock in a narrow strait. Um, Homer did not specify the exact location of the strait in which Scylla and Charybdis resided, just that there are two rocks opposite each other. Um, they probably imagined it in some obscure and largely unexplored part of the world. Um, but by the classical period, it was generally believed that it was the Strait of Messina, which separates the island of Sicily from the boot of Italy. Um, so, according to the Odyssey, the sorceress Kirk, I think it's Kirk, but it looks like Cirque, but in like three of the things, it's like a Kirke
Yeah.
pronunciation. Um,
Is it Kirky?
oh, maybe. uh,
Listen, Greek is fucking weird. It could be.
It really is. So like you know how in English you say when you look at a word it doesn't always sound like it looks. In Greek that's it, it's the opposite. Like if it looks like it, that's probably how it's pronounced. Like
I just
Heracles,
love. Yeah,
like
that's
Heracles, like it's the exact same.
that's one of the ones that
Charybdis,
you see all the time. Um, like if we pronounced English words the way you pronounce Greek words, like I don't know, the word capable would probably
yeah.
be capably. Like,
Honestly though, anyway, so Homer described Charybdis as the earth shaker.
ooh,
It mayest thou not be there when she sucks it down, for no one could save thee from ruin. No, not the earth shaker. Um, and once the a ship got caught inside of her whirlpool, no one could escape. It was far better to risk having a few sailors snatched up by Scylla than to sail too close to Charybdis and lose the whole ship, crew and all.
yeah.
Um,
I wonder if there are a lot of like shipwrecks in that area.
that'd actually be pretty cool for like to go diving to like see
Yeah, no,
what's
I'm
down
not
there.
doing that. I don't do the ocean. But it'd be cool for someone else to do it and let me know.
Yeah. So I have more on the possible origin story for Charybdis. So when Heracles captured the cattle of Geryon on his 10th labor, Charybdis tried to steal the cattle from him. As punishment, Zeus cast her down to the bottom of the sea. There, her nature served her well as she swallowed and subsequently threw up the waters of the sea 3 times each day. So it wasn't just like, hey, I'm going to steal this. Like, it was important to Heracles because it was his labor, it was part of his labors
Oh.
that he had to complete.
Oh, okay.
Um, Aeneas, Aeneas was another hero encountered by Charybdis aside from Jason and Odysseus. Um, ooh. You can also watch the 1997 miniseries The Odyssey and The Sea of Monsters to see how I guess Hollywood um, describes Charybdis and Scylla because they both appear there. Well, hello, little kitten. Um, and then you can also see Percy
Look at
Jackson in
little
the Olympian
kitten. Look at
series.
me. Look how big I am.
Little kid my ass. I'm a
Yeah.
big boy now. um, but yeah, it's if you want to see, there is some movies out there that shows both of these two myths in, so you can kind of see how they are portrayed versus how stories portray them. So yeah, that's Charybdis, chaoticness. I never figured out what she was the goddess of.
I looked it up and it says she's just a sea monster. But that was just a generic Google search. I didn't like go deep. So
Yeah, maybe I just like read it as like she's the daughter of this god or whatever,
yeah.
and just didn't actually like. Ew. Oh, Greek gods and goddesses.net actually say that she's often depicted as a large serpent with a large round mouth. So a lamprey. Ugh.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Apparently they're immortal, even though Scylla died. But whatever.
Well, her dad set her on fire, so she came back to life.
No, it's true. Oh, goddess of the tide. That's what it is. She was originally a water nymph and the goddess of the tide. She was a beautiful and immortal daughter of the sea god Poseidon and Gaia. Gaia. But that is definitely not what I want. But yeah, so there's Charybdis. Still alive and well. No death story, no nothing like that.
All right. So watch yourself in the Messina
When you're
Strait.
going, that's true. Don't go over there with small watercraft.
She's
That's
old now.
really all
She's
they
not
said.
as strong.
Okay. She's related to primordial gods. Are you kidding? Power is useless to her.
All right.
God, that's
So
sweet.
this has been your mythology episode of this month. And next week we're doing
Fan
fan
casts.
casts. We're going to go back to the night and its moon and do some fan casting. And then we're
And
going to talk about, yep.
nope, go ahead.
And then the following week, we're going to talk about the science of witchcraft, which is going to discuss different witches in pop culture. And yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Woo. Um, and if you,
I can't hear your voice.
oh really? Hi, hello, baby. Um, other than a select few people in life, he loves me.
He does. He doesn't like most
it's
people, but he likes his Auntie M.
it's probably because I forced him to love me all those times I came over. Come here, little nugget, and then just squish him. Um, so we're gonna be doing mythology or like folklore in the Greek sense for the next few episodes. So if you are interested in learning about a specific myth or folklore tale in the Greek area of the world, hit us up on social media, email, whatever the case may be. You can even comment on a
Yeah.
YouTube video. Let us know what you want to hear. We're gonna stick to like a certain area with folklore, and then we're gonna move to a new area with folklore. So if you want to learn about another place in the world, let us know that place too, because I know we've kind of been all over the place. But
Yeah. Well,
well,
we're going to
not
stick
really. I
to,
mean, we only did one, but we did it because of the book that we read.
and even then it had links to Greek mythology.
Mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
so we're going to
But yeah,
stick with Greek for the next couple and then pick a different one. So,
alrighty.
all right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Until next time.
Bye.